Are you looking at the chain ring of a bicycle? Well, you'll see in a minute. We're going to talk about that third smallest ring called the granny gear. And there's some important lessons there for us as we seek to develop our own character, build cultures of character, and seek to flourish as human beings. So check out this short video on the granny gear. I went for another ride today out on the bike and was doing a little more thinking, or at least thoughts occurred to me. And they had to do with something called the granny gear. Now, if you're not a cyclist, you might not know what the granny gear is. It's a third chain ring on the front of the bike that's the smallest. Basically, it allows you a bunch more gears that make it easier to ride. And so when I first was shopping for a road bike many years ago, a lot of people said, don't get a bike with a granny gear. You ride very much, you won't need it. You won't want the extra weight on the bike that the gear has. It'll become useless. But for some reason, I got a bike with a granny gear anyway. And today, I was glad that I had it. I was out riding in pain, going up some difficult hills, and clicked into that granny gear more than once. And so because I hadn't been on the bike for a long time, I needed it, given the shape that I was in. Now, it struck me at the time, this is related to a lot of what we're going through right now. All right, we're all exhausted, right? We're exhausted with the coronavirus pandemic. We're exhausted with racial injustice, with the all that's happening in our nation right now in terms of its leadership, in terms of its social structures, in terms of the unrest, the struggle for justice, for us to really realize that Black Lives Matter. You add those things together, and then you add in whatever's going on in our personal lives that's stressful or difficult or weighing us down. We need to be able to shift into the granny gear in life. We need to go easier on ourselves, depending on what your job is like. If you have a job, my job and a lot of my friends as academics, we have some control over our schedule. But we do a lot of work in the summer. Most of us spend the summer teaching a little bit and trying to catch up on some writing projects. But I've had this problem, and I know many others have as well. We cannot focus. We don't have it in us. We don't have the energy in us to focus and do work. Some days I get a lot done and I'm satisfied. Other days I don't. I think we just need to lighten up on ourselves. Use the granny gear, so to speak. Lower the expectations of yourself at work and at home if you're able to do so. Some of us don't have an option. Either we don't have a job right now and we're struggling to get one, or the job you have doesn't give you the flexibility to do that. I guess what I'm saying is any realm of life where you can shift down to that easier gear. And sometimes it's good just to get off the bike and take a break. I did that today too. So, thoughts from the bike by a philosopher. I hope they're useful to you. The lesson is use the granny gear. Get off the bike if you need to. Cut yourself some slack during these difficult times. Then you'll have the energy and the will and the strength to get back on that bike and shift up into the harder gears, whether it's at home or at work, and the struggle for justice, whatever it is. Thanks.